Let's get him on the screen. Natey Adjei, friend of the show. And the guy tipped his toes in the broadcasting world with the All Ball podcast, and now he's on the radio calling Argos games. How you doing, Natey?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing, Rod? Always a pleasure to join your show.
Yeah, so I appreciate having you on, man. Big fan here. Always have been. And by the way, Eskimos, Argos alum, and for a cup of coffee, Montreal. Did you ever touch down in Montreal as an Alouette, by the way?
No, signed the contract, but never actually stepped foot in Montreal.
Well, it'll go on your Wikipedia, I'm sure. But hey, Natey, how tough was it to make the call on your career and go into the broadcast booth? Can you tell me about that first? Can we start there?
Absolutely. It was tough. Football is something I've done since the age of 12, right? So it's been my life every single year of my life. But, as the pandemic started, parties started getting shifted, father of 3 now. And, just knowing that I would have to miss time with the family after being with them for a whole year, it was too tough. It was too tough to pass up the opportunity to be there every single day. Then I got the opportunity with the Argos, and I thought it was the perfect transition to be still connected to the game. But it's tough. It was tough to say goodbye to something you've known your whole life, right? But I wasn't willing to give up, family time any longer. I've done it for a long time, and it was time to sacrifice that.
Well, it's going to be interesting. And the very first thing I think about, because I saw the photo of you in the broadcast booth Saturday's game there with the Bombers and the Argos, was the smallest broadcast booths in sports are at BMO Field. How did you and Hoagie fit in there? And how did Chris Schultz ever fit in there? Were you guys a little tight for space in there?
You know what? It was my first ever broadcast booth I've ever seen or been a part of. So I didn't know any different. So to me, that's just how it is, right? So I wasn't about to start complaining. I was cool. I was, doing what I love to do. So we'll see as I travel and see what the other broadcast booths are. But for me, I was fine. I was fine in there. I don't know how Schultz fit. It was pretty tight for me.
I don't know how he walked in the room, let alone fit next to Hoagie. But anyways, so it was a big win for the Argos. Nick Arbuckle, Player of the Week. A pretty good game to have for your first. Talk about how that game went down.
It was an exciting game. And the whole time I was looking down at the crowd and thinking, man, this is a great game for CFL fans in Toronto to come to, because it was, Toronto took the lead, and then CFL games, they're never ever over. So Winnipeg comes back, and Toronto puts their foot on the pedal again, back and forth. Arbuckle looked great, getting the ball out. DeVaris Daniels had a monster game. Couple rookies for Toronto had big catches. Back and forth kind of game. It was uncharacteristic for Winnipeg to play the way they did. But you love to see it as a Toronto fan. It was a fun CFL game to be a part of, and I think the fans had a blast, which was the most important thing.
Well, the offense was humming, but I got to be honest with you. My guy, Charleston Hughes, was not necessarily flying around. Is he getting lost on all the talent in that front seven for the Argos, or like he's not getting off? He's not leading the CFL in sacks right now, Natey. How much were you watching the defensive front for the Argos in that game?
We were watching them a lot, because every time it seemed like Winnipeg touched the ball, somebody on Toronto was flying to the ball, and then 2, 3, 4 guys were, getting in on tackles. So the pursuit was unbelievable for Toronto, and they've got that front seven might be the strength of the team. They've got so much talent in that front seven. You just look at, Cameron Judge, you guys know him well. Enoch Mwamba, Chris Edwards, that played with them in Edmonton, physical, fast. Everybody we think about, the two things that come up in your head are physical, fast, and they're all really smart football players. So I know Glenn Young is doing a great job in mixing up the looks. They'll go 40 front, they'll go 30 front, they'll go, They'll just have all these multiple looks with a defensive line, defensive front, and it's confusing Winnipeg's O-line had a tough time with it. They got Dexter Mccoy back there, who won a Grey Cup in Edmonton. Who can play pretty much anywhere on the defensive in the defense, right? And he's almost like one of those basketball players that you think of. They say he can guard 1 through 5. Well, Dexter Mccoy can do that. He can, go on the D line, linebacker, safety, DB. He can do it all, and he was everywhere. Then you got Vontae Diggs as well, who was in Edmonton last year, Rookie of the Year candidate for Edmonton. Backing up, but he's getting some packages. So this defense is unbelievable. It's going to be one to watch.
That is an outstanding defense. That's a lot of big names right there. And I think the Argos got to be looked upon as East Division favorites right now, especially with the struggling Ticats, which I'll get to in a moment. But Jack in Vulcan, Alberta is watching. He's a Stampeders guy. And he says, what's Natey's opinion of Nick Arbuckle? What are your thoughts on the quarterback of the Argos?
You know what? I got to see him a bunch when we played when he was in Calgary, and the first season he was starting. And first couple of games, I'm like, okay, it's Bo Levi's backup, and we're gonna have our way with him. But we never did have our way with him. He came in there and he looked really comfortable. I remember watching his first ever start, but first ever game. It was, I think, week 2 of the 2019 season. Calgary was playing BC, and Bo Levi gets hurt in the fourth quarter. And Arbuckle they're down 10 at that point, and Arbuckle has to lead him down and win the game. And he does just that. He made every single throw Bo was making in that game. And I think he was a rookie at the time. For a rookie to come in and be as locked in as he was, it was really impressive. Poised, confident, knowledge of the offense. You can tell when a quarterback has, good knowledge of the offense when, they're getting to their drop, the first guy isn't open. They're going to their check down, 2-3 receivers. And that's what he was doing. And you could tell he was really confident. He's confident in his abilities. That's what you love to see. And the guys really rally around him. That's one thing you look for a quarterback. Trevor Harris has this where the guys love to play for him. They rally around him. You see the interactions on the bench are all positive. That's what you love to see. So my impressions of Arbuckle, really, really good. Sky's the limit for him because he has his offensive coordinator and Dinwiddie as a head coach here. Great receivers across the board. He's got Rogers, DeVaris Daniels, Breskinson, Curly Gittins, Ricky Collins Jr., who's a friend of this show. Good backups in Noel and Brissett. So just an unbelievable receiving core. Great running backs. DJ Foster stepped up last week, and John White, of course, has been a stalwart in the CFL. So sky's the limit for him.
That's right. Ricky's my guy now, as you know. And it's funny with those quarterbacks that anybody would criticize the Argos how they handle quarterbacks with Ryan Dinwiddie running the show. I'm like, please, he's got it. And I think Dinner's already showing he's going to be a tremendous head coach for years and years to come. And by the way, Nelson Hakowicz, watching our vice president of sim events, he says, great breakdown. Natey has a long career ahead of him. I cannot let you go. And I'll come back on the Argos in a moment, but the Ticats are 0-2. They go into Montreal for Friday Night Football, Al's home opener. The Ticats going to come out of this, Natey? What's going on with them at 0-2?
You know what? They'll be fine. I mean, first game had O-line issues, and a big piece that I think not a lot of people are talking about, Braylon Addison. I mean, if you remember Braylon Addison's last season, he was everywhere for the Ticats, almost their best receiver. I mean, Banks is there, and Banks is their go-to guy. He gets all the headlines. But Braylon Addison was, just as important to me. I mean, the few times we played him, it felt like he was running double moves, triple moves, and catching all the short passes as well, right? So he was doing everything for them. I think he's their glue guy receiver, and without him, it's tough for Masoli back there. And then you add in the O-line issues. You can't even run the ball. It's tough selling. So once they get their O-line issues sorted out, which I think they're going to be, Van Zal's back. He's been back for a couple of weeks, and they had this bye week to kind of sort it all out. You get Braylon Addison back. Maybe you can run the ball a little bit better. I think they'll be fine. That's a team that's proven. Steinauer is a great head coach in this league. They got great talent across the board. They'll figure it out. They didn't win 13 games in 2019 for no reason to go to the Grey Cup. Then they brought almost everybody back, including the coaching staff, right? So they'll be just fine.
And the week, lastly, Natey, was supposed to open Thursday with Elks Argos at BMO Field. I'm sure you're all jacked to broadcast that game. What did you think when you found out that it was going to be postponed due to a COVID outbreak with Edmonton?
I just said, what the elk is going on over there? I had to hit a couple of my friends up and like, guys, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And everybody's in quarantine right now. Everybody's at their own in their own hotels. It's a tough situation because we all know the deal. The league missed a whole year pretty much because of COVID-19. And, to come back, guys got to, adhere to the strict protocols, like really stick to the protocols, or, there might not be any more football. So, it's a tough situation. It's so divisive because, there are guys that are on the backside and guys that are on the anti-backside. But we all know the deal. To play football, we've got to have everybody test negative, and the best way to test negative is to be vaxxed, or just stay in your bubble, stay at home, and just go to practice and go home, go to the game and go home, right? So it's tough because if I'm a vaccinated guy on the Edmonton, I'm not happy because my bottom line is being affected, right? My ability to earn income that I missed the whole 2019 is being affected. And then if I'm a guy, I have the choice to make this decision, but I also have to live with the consequences, right? And I have to ask myself, am I doing what's best for the team to win? These are the questions that are going on. I'm sure each coach and GM wants every single guy vaccinated. And frankly, I feel like that's the only way, the league will survive this season, because that outbreak, it happened in Edmonton, but it won't be the last one if teams aren't over the threshold.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, Natey, thanks for this wonderful breakdown. Go Argos. Those are my guys, by the way, Murph and Pinner and Chucky, obviously. So Cam Judge is the best. So listen, have a blast. I know you are, and always good chatting with you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me as well. And, anytime you Argos breakdown, I'm your guy.
Perfect. Gotcha. We'll book you. Natey Adjei joining us from Toronto, the Argos' newest color commentator, and I think he'll be there for a long time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.